So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. My name is Franklin. I'm the Product App Specialist for KISS and your webinar host. Here we show you the tips and tricks you need to know to becoming that supercharged power user. So today I'll be demonstrating how to add an environment photo to your project, further enhancing your rendering. Julie will fill you in with today's agenda.
Okay, so for today's agenda, we are going to be showing you the Include Environment feature on kits. So this includes accessing those free sample environments. Also, we're going to be showing you how to take that perfect environment photo with your Kits app. Also, 5 steps to photo bliss. And lastly, we're going to show you how to access previously used environment photos that you might have taken for a past project on site and you would like to use it again. So your learning takeaways for this webinar is you're going to be able to take the right photo of your client space, enhance that photo to fit your new layout, and also create dynamic renderings. So we've got lots to talk about today. And as always, we'd like to present a quick opportunity to show you when to utilize this feature. So Franklin is on site. He has gone over the proposed layout with the client and is ready to close the project. But he wants to show his client what the new layout will actually look like in their current space.
All right, so if you've been joining us for the last couple of weeks, we've been working right from the basics to all the way to where we are now, where we're actually going to be taking an environment photo utilizing the advanced features of kits, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go revisit that same project that we've created, and we're now actually going to go through the process into creating a nice environment for it, and again, being able to take that photo of your client's space. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the project. So last week what we showed you was how to enhance those renderings, and what we did is we used a sample environment that was available through the Include Environment feature. As you can see here in the background of my layout, you can see that it's in this office setting. All right, so again, we did visit this last week. If you do want to see how we did that, you can actually go to our KITS Knowledge Center, and you can preview last week's webinar to see how you can access these sample environments. Now the question begs, when do you use the sample environments as opposed to taking a photo? Now there are a lot of situations, especially when you start to use a lot of the other features here. Every site is going to have their own peculiar site conditions, and really using some of the features such as the photo environment feature, which we're going to be going through today, is really dependent on the site situation, okay, or the site condition. Now, when would I use the sample environments? I would use the sample environments when the client requires to see the layout within the context of some type of building or room. Now, if the actual site is too cluttered with furniture, or the condition of the site is just not photo ready, then I would use the sample environments for that. Okay. As well, if you don't have an opportunity to visit the site, it's another great opportunity to use the sample environments. Again, the sample environments aren't there to reflect what your client site looks like. It's really there to give the client an idea of what the space is going to look like, or how the layout is going to fit within the context of some type of building. Okay, so again, there are key reasons why when you should use these sample environments and when you shouldn't. Okay, and as you can see on my screen here, we do have the sample environment that we did. What you should always do is pay attention to how the actual layout is, and you can see that I can use the actual lines of the floor to help me find the right perspective for my layout. So you can see how quickly I was able to do that. Okay, so again, if you want to see how we use the sample environments, go to our KITS Knowledge Center, and you can preview last week's webinar. Okay, what I want to do is I want to go forward, and I want to show you how you can use our photo environment, or a photo feature, to taking that client's environment, taking a picture of the client's site, and using that as your environment. All right. Now, before we do that, one thing that I do want to make sure that we talk about is the 5 requirements that you should know to making sure that you can take that picture properly. So I'm just going to go back to my keynote here. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to visit the 5 requirements for Photo Bliss. Okay. So the first one is analyzing the client space. This is really important because what you need to do is you need to take a look at the space, and you need to make sure that the layout that you've created will be able to fit in the space. So the space itself needs to match the layout that you created. It needs to match the length and width of that. So you need to make sure that you can step back and you can take a proper image of the actual space. Now, remember, if you're working with a small office space, this feature may not be the correct one to use, and that's because it's kind of hard to take a step back and be able to take a nice photo of the entire environment within that small office space. So again, there are certain criteria that will allow you to be successful with using this particular step. Okay, so again, these are the 5 steps to Photo Bliss: is analyzing the space. Again, making sure that the length and width of the actual picture that you're going to take is going to match the length and width of the layout that you've created. All right. Next, what you should do is you should do some type of cleanup, and that means any loose items, as you can see here in the image that we've provided, should be removed out of the way of the actual image. Okay. Now, I don't mean if there's furniture that you can move, such as you see the lounge furniture there. We want you to do minimal effort when it comes down to this, because the idea is we're trying to provide you with a one-touch solution. Now, in this case, if you do want that the proper image, and you want to make sure that you can reflect your concept to your client, then you want to make sure that you can take advantage of being able to move some items so that when you take the photo, it does come in the way you envision it. Okay, so that's important too. So again, for these vertical items, it's best to remove them because we can't erase those items from the scene. And again, erasing the actual floor in the photo is a feature in the include environment option. So I'll make sure I go over that when we get to that point. Okay. Now, what you also need to do is you need to make sure that you align your camera frame. Okay, this is important. This is for any of you Snapchatters or Instagrammers out there, you're probably going to be experts already taking photos. What you need to make sure you do is you need to make sure that when you're actually looking at the actual site, that you can align the frame of your iPad with something architectural to give you a guide as to being able to capture the right perspective for your scene. Okay, these are little tips that will help you create that perspective that's going to wow your client. All right, cleanup again is important. And again, what you can do for the cleanup is you can use the erase features that is part of the actual include environment feature. You can do an object erase, or you can do a floor erase. Now we did, we will be looking at some of those options later today as we go through this feature. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you align your floor grid. What I did here was I kept the floor grid on so that I can use the actual boundary of the floor grid to help align my layout according to the actual photo that we're using. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up Kits, and I'm going to go through the actual process with you now. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I am going to actually tap on HD Render, and I'm going to go to Include Environment. And you can see all the different sample environments that we used last week to help us get that image that we created. So what I want to do this week is I want to use the New Photo feature. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on New Photo. And what that's going to do is it's going to access my iPad's camera. So it'll allow me to take a photo of the client space. All right. And remember what I said, for the 5 requirements for Photo Bliss. What I'm going to do is I'm stepping back in the space that I want to capture, and I want to make sure that I'm looking at this space, and I'm making sure that it can accommodate the length and width of the layout that I've created. Okay. You can see there's a lot of items that are cluttering up the space. And so what I want to do is I want to be able to take the proper photo so that I can remove a lot of these items, giving me a clear visual of the layout within the client space. Now, the other thing I'm doing is I'm also holding the iPad up roughly about 5 feet above the floor, with arms slightly extended from my chest and my elbows bent. Now, if your iPad is tilted to any other side, it will tell you to straighten out. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to make sure that I align my camera frame with lines of architecture within the scene. So I'm looking at the glass doors at the top left, and I'm making sure that the top of my iPad frame is also aligned with that line of glazing there. And then I'm going to make sure I go back into position, and when I'm satisfied, I'm going to go ahead and take that photo. All right. So we've captured the photo, and now what we need to do is we need to clean up some space. So what I'm going to utilize here is the erase feature. And if you tap on erase, you can see that you have an option of erasing an object or floor. Now the object removal is a quick option for you to select a particular item that's in the photo and to erase it. And what it does is it pulls the JPEGs that are within, or the pixels that are within the actual JPEG, this image, and it uses those pixels to erase the image that you're selecting. So I'll just do a quick example of that. So here I'm going to erase this round table. So I'm loosely selecting the area around it until I connect the line. Once I let go, it does color the entire circle in red. Okay. When it's done, I'm going to go ahead and tap on Done, and then it begins the erase process. Now, again, this isn't an exact science. What it actually does is it uses the pixels surrounding that selection area in order to remove the actual table. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I rarely use the object removal. It's great when you have standalone items that don't have anything else affecting it, because as you can see here, depending on what you're touching in that image of yours, it will drag in those same pixels to erase the image. Now you can see it's removed the actual table, but it's also pulled in a lot of the pixels that are from the surrounding environment, like the montage system that we have in the back here, as well as the cabinetry. Okay. Now I don't necessarily want that, because really for me it's gonna kind of miscue the image that I'm trying to create for my client. So I'm going to go ahead and go back, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to take that image one more time. Now the great thing is, once you've actually taken a picture, Kits will save it for the project so that you can revisit it at any other time, even reuse it for another project, and I'll show you that as the third part of this webinar. Okay, so I'm ready to take that picture. I'm going to go ahead and snap it, and this time I'm going to use the floor removal. Now with the floor removal, what I'm going to do here is, once I selected the actual feature, it's given me a white window at the bottom for me to select a swatch from the actual floor of the site. So in this case, if I place my finger on that white square, I can drag it along anywhere in the scene. But what I want to do is I want to make sure I capture a piece of the floor that I want to replicate within the space. Now I don't want to go with anything too dark, so I'm going to go with something that's a little bit of a lighter contrast, so that I can brighten up my space as well. Because the idea here is that, again, we're creating this, we're doing this just to make sure that we can actually see and validate what this layout is going to look like within the client space. Once I select my swatch, I'm going to tap on Next. It then provides me this selection window. And if I place my finger on one of these white squares, I can drag it along the space, so then I can actually arrange where I need to place these points. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I do a general capture or erase of the space here. So I'm going to actually start creating a selection window around all the area of the image that I want to erase. Anytime you need to create a new point, all you need to do is double tap on the selection line, and that will create additional points for you. Okay. You can also use the zoom window that's provided to you when you're placing these selection points within your scene. This will help you guide where you actually place these points so that you're not just erasing a mass area. You have a little bit of control here. Okay, and depending on how large your scene is, it could take anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. And there. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that selection area. So I'm going to go ahead and tap Done. And so what Kits is now going to do is it's going to take that swatch that I selected, and it's going to replicate that swatch within the selection window. And this is the reason why I prefer to use the floor erase feature better, is because it does a cleaner erase of the actual scene. It doesn't drag in any other pixels. It doesn't smudge your image like that. It keeps it as clean as possible. And remember, what we're doing is we're creating a graphic. So the graphic that I bring in, which is the layout, I want to make sure kind of covers these deficiency points in the image. Okay, so again, you know this is an advanced feature for Kits. This will take some time for you to master, and I do suggest that you practice it whenever you have a chance, because it's a very cool feature, especially if you can do it when you're actually at that first meeting, so you can quickly create an ideation for your client and show them what it looks like. Give them the results right in front of them. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It's done a nice clean erase over the space. What I want to do is I want to calibrate my scene by providing a scale to something architecturally or something that I can quickly measure within the site. Now, if you don't have a measuring tape, you can certainly ask your client some key questions. And then when in doubt, if you have any kind of doors within the space, we do know that doors normally are at 7-foot height, so you can easily measure that for 7 feet. In this case, I know the height of the space, it's 9 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to measure up this back window here at 9 feet. So I'm going to tap on Calibrate on the top right corner, and then I get this lovely 3D measuring tape. I'm going to make sure that I can take the 0 point of the axis, and I'm going to place it at the bottom of the glass doors. Okay? Then I can use my rotate function, which is placing 2 fingers on your screen and rotating them together to rotate the measuring tape to follow the perspective line of that door. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the size of my object. Now again, you can see I'm kind of going in backwards. Here you can enter the size first, then you can align it. What I like to do is I like to align it first and then select my size. So here I'm going to go to 9 feet. There we go. And you can see actually from the point of the bottom of that sliding door to the top, my measuring tape actually stretches beyond. I want to make sure that I can scale this back so that it can actually measure the object that I'm intending to measure for the calibration. So here I'm going to go ahead and use the scaler on the right-hand side to scale my measuring tape accordingly. All right, there. So I got 9 feet. I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to go ahead and tap on Done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on Use. So now you can see what it's done is it's brought my image into my layout. I'm going to go into my settings first, and what I want to do is I want to show the floor grid floor. So I'm going to tap on the control switch, and then I'm going to go back. And the reason why I do that is so that I get the nice white floor grid on the floor. And what I can do is I can begin to align my layout according to something in the actual photo that will allow me to align my layout according to the perspective of the photo. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to angle my layout following the angles in the scene. Okay. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag the image to where I need to place it. Once it's there, I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to go ahead and go into my project settings, turn off my floor grid, and there you have it. There's my scene that's been placed in my actual photo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tap on HD Render, and we're going to render that quickly. Now, given the opportunity, if you can do a best rendering, it looks wild when you use the photo feature. Now, depending on the photo and the size of your layout will really determine how long that takes. It could take anywhere from 10 minutes to possibly 15 minutes. But there you have it. There's my image. I'm happy with the results, and I know my client's going to say, you know what, you guys were the right ones to hire. Everything looks spectacular, and there you have it. Okay, so again, I'm going to save that to my photo library so that I can use, so I can send it to my client at some other time. Now, just to show you, this is what it looks like with a best rendering. Okay, so you can see that what we've captured is the shine and sheen of the actual furniture. It's actually given the shade and shadow of the furniture a more natural haze. This is all part of the best quality rendering feature. Right? All right. So the third part of using the include environment feature is being able to access photos that have been used in past projects. Now, why is this important? Well, there's a few things that you can actually do with it. You can actually, for instance, if you're working on a project and you have the opportunity of taking pictures of the actual space prior to creating layouts, you can actually kind of prepare yourself for what you need to do by making sure that you can capture the entire space. It's great if it's a new build and you have access to a blank canvas. What you can do is you can start up a new project. You can take a photo of the space, and then you can just save that project. And what Kits will do is, again, it saves that image for that environment so that once you go to HD render and you go into include environment, you can go down to the bottom and you can select projects. And what this is going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to visit any one of those projects, especially let's say that new project that you've just created that only contains a photo, and it's going to allow you to access that photo. So for instance, I'm going to go to this old one here, and you can see all the different environments that I have to choose from that have been used in that project. I'm going to go ahead and use this one here. Now, it may not actually fit the scene. This may not be the right photo to use, but you can see, we've done the same thing where we've done a cleanup. We removed the verticals, and we've erased the floor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to calibrate that, and I'm going to make sure that I bring my measuring tape over here, follow the same perspective lines, find 9 feet, and then scale it accordingly. Tap on done. And now once I tap on use, you can see we've now brought our new image in. Okay, and then I'm just going to align it where it needs to go, and there you have it. So again, there are several things that you can do, again, to take advantage of utilizing that space. Don't forget, you could always turn on your floor grid to making sure that you're following the right perspective of the scene. And that is just a little bit this way. And there you go. Okay. So again, there's so many things that you can do to wow your client. The include environment feature is absolutely spectacular. Now the only thing is you'll just have to make sure that you get used to the actual functionality of it, as well as remembering the 5 requirements for PhotoBliss. All right, it's really that easy, and you can find so many different ways to utilize it, and I'm sure your client will will be happy with the results. So you can see here what we've actually shown you is some user submissions of how they've utilized the photo environment. Again, it can be as simple as just providing some lounge chairs in a scene, but remember, what makes the image powerful is the fact that you do consider what you're actually doing for the client. In this case, you're giving them a way to envision the space before it even gets purchased. Okay, so these are all key and important things to take when you're trying to utilize that feature. Just bear in mind, the site that you're actually working with and whether it's going to be the appropriate way for you to convey your sales message to your client. So again, these are all different ways that you can utilize all the different environments, from using the include environment features to building your environment in KOE Catalog.
So just to quickly recap, what did we learn today? We have to remember those 5 steps to photo bliss to analyze your space. Think of photography 101. Clean up a couple things, scale the image, and adjust the layout. But we also have this recording available if you want to watch again or jump back into it and learn some more. Also, if you are unable to take a photo of your client's space, maybe there's a lot of clutter or you can't get the right photo, you can definitely access our sample environments, or you can actually even build quick replicas with our architectural elements from the KOE catalog, and we have lots of webinars on how to do so on our YouTube channel. And lastly, remember, not all sites will be suitable for an image, so practice how you would use this feature. Try to take some photos of various areas with obstructions, just to get familiar with the Calibrate and the erase, definitely even around your office. That's what we always do here. So I think that is it for today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Franklin for hosting today's webinar and for all the awesome interactions we've had on our chat box today. So thank you so much for joining us.